the Uinta Trio, how are you? I'm very, very happy to see you again. Nicole, Michael, and Monte. It's for me a very, very nice pleasure to make a virtual premiere of the concert that we made a few months ago in your country, and through the opportunity to play with the Barlow Endowment and BYU support. And for me, it's a pleasure to be with you. And I don't know if it's the same for you, but don't worry.
It's a great pleasure to see you again.
Yes, so good to see you again. This will be fun.
Well, my idea was to show the importance to work together, musicians and composers, and to have opportunity to make new music and new creations for new audience also. And for me, it was a great opportunity to compose for you. And in the beginning of that work was a little challenge to create a new music without know each one of you. In my case, as composer, is a challenge. I like always to know who will be the interpreter. It's like a director to know who will be the actor. And in that case, I think I discovered that you were the best actors for that composition, RecoNoceR. But I like to know a little bit about your expectations before the work and after you start to play and rehearsal and performance the work.
Well, I always like to, when I get a new work, I might just be a little odd, I don't know, but I kind of love that, to find new music that's accessible to the audience that they're going to love, right? And so I was so happy when we got this, and it was like, there's elements that are a little bit going to challenge some of the listeners, but there's so many spots that are like, this is so gorgeous, and the audience, every time we played it, I think they all felt something from the music that touched them, and that's what I think great music is about, because then it's going to get performed again, right? So sometimes I think some composers get involved in composing something that's just for the art of composing something that is going to give somebody an experience that might open their mind. But sometimes I love music that moves us, and I think that this composition is a very moving and emotionally, spiritually, just in so many ways. So that's one of the things that if I'm answering your question, that's one of my answers that I had for you.
Well, thank you.
I have some thoughts about what you were saying, Julián. I've always been taught that the composer is writing a message, and the performers are the messengers, right? They are delivering a message. And as you know, musically, but also in speech, how someone delivers a message is sometimes not as important, but almost as important as the message. And so I think as performers, we try our best when we engage new music. It can be a living composer, or it could be composers from the past. We try to make as much sense out of what is written down. And we are continuously asking ourselves the question, what do you think Julián meant? What does he mean? Why is he writing this like that? And I think one of the great advantages of playing living composers' music is we can actually ask that question, right? It doesn't have to be a rhetorical question. Beethoven, Brahms, we have to kind of suppose that we can interpret it or do musicological research to understand it. We can call Julián and do a Zoom meeting and say, hey, what did you mean? And so that's really a great advantage that we had as performers, to be able to sit down, study this music and then have an opportunity to ask questions, and to our great delight, have you even come in person to be able to listen to us rehearse and give us feedback, etc.
For sure.
Thank you, Michael.
I was thinking about how when I perform a work, what I really love it to have is the basic emotions. And not actually every piece has this, has every basic emotion, but you want to program that into one concert. And some of the basic emotions, like 5 or 6. So you want to really hear joy, and you want to feel that, and you want to be able to express it. Then there's the opposite of that. So you need some anger or some fear going on. And then love and happiness. And when you have those, all of those elements within one piece, like you have with yours, it's really easy to make it powerful, especially if it's really complex and artistically satisfying. And sometimes with modern music, it gets so complex that it loses the audience, right? And I love the way you presented all of those basic emotions in really powerful, substantive ways, musically, with the texture of the harmonies and the rhythms and the melodies. And so it was really fun it was challenging to try to actually play it because, and I'm sure we'll get to that, but rhythmically was probably the hardest thing for me preparing it, since we were playing in different meters at the same time, which did not make any sense to me until I met you and I played with you and I thought, oh, this is sort of an Argentine thing. Like you could really feel that in your bandoneon when you would play it. So anyway.
Well, for me, it's a great pleasure to see you as the messengers, because I think we say sometimes that music is a universal language, but we know that not always that is true. And each one of us, we have different backgrounds, musical backgrounds, and sometimes it's not easy to gather all in one. And I think for us, in that case, you have not just the music in your trio unites, but also the faith, the background in your faith, and that makes a special trio for me. And how you have many things in common. And in that case, my work was based in a very special text that came from the Book of Mormon. And actually, Nicole, she plays for the movies, the Book of Mormon movies, and I think I feel a connection with that. And Monte serves as missionary in my country, and I think that connects for me a lot. And when I was composing, it's very very interesting to think about the messengers that Michael was talking, because when you have the clear vision of the interpreters or the messengers, I think you start to make the things easier for the composer also. But for me, it was very nice to see the behind scenes of the composition and see in a moment that when you start to have no more control, from the sheet music to your hands, and it's very nice to start to see in your hands. Well, we will, yes.
I was just going to say that something that's kind of along these lines is that when we put this together, we learned our parts, we learned it together, how we were going to put it together, and then the experience of playing this for you, where we brought our thoughts to it, and then hearing your thoughts of, oh no, this needs to sound like this. Oh, you're an angel here. You're not an angel here. You're supposed to be, those kinds of ideas. This needs to sound more scary. This needs to be more ethereal. This needs to be, all your descriptive words about, it needs to sound lighter here or darker here or something. I think that's what Michael was trying to say, or was saying, about how magical it is to work with a living composer. But that interesting first run through was kind of exhilarating, and then how the music kind of transformed because we had you alive. We don't get that with the older composers that aren't with us anymore. So that's what I think one of the most special things about this collaboration with all four of us was, you had the genius of the inspiration that you got. We tried to bring our little genius of how to interpret it, and then to kind of bring all of that together and make something new was quite a neat experience for all of us. So we thank you for that and the experience for that.
Yes, thank you. And actually, I think the good thing is that my expectations about the work grow when I start to listen you. So, and I say, well, this is like the creation process of the world. Like first the world, but after you see how the creation start to be part of, and you can see, and it's a magical thing. And well, we are going to present the premiere of the video. Is a premiere that we made in Idaho, in BYU, Idaho. And for me, it's a special concert because it was the last we made. And I listened the other versions before, but that version is the best in two ways, because Nicole describes 5 feelings, but she doesn't describe a special feeling that before the concert, few hours.
I left out a few feelings actually when I was talking, but yes, this piece, what I was thinking. Well, let me back up a little bit. One thing I think that really helped tie us together in a collaborative effort, all 4 of us, is that you picked a story that, despite all our miles between us, we all really relate to and love. And the story is of Alma, the younger, his conversion, and specifically that transformation he experienced when he was visited by a divine being, and he had his own internal reckoning. And it's about the pains of a damned soul. And he goes from one spot to another spot where his joy exceeded the pain. And I think everyone loves the story of redemption because everyone's made mistakes in their life that they want to help correct all that energy. So I think that really helped. And then you asked a question just a minute ago about how I was doing before this particular performance. And yes, I got really, really sick. I got a stomach bug, and probably as violent as I've ever had one. And I remembered thinking, I'm experiencing the pains of a damned soul. Like I was just in it, and it was so intense and difficult. But one thing that was wonderful about it is, like, my trio brothers, they really feel like my brothers. I didn't grow up with brothers, so it's hard for me to get to that place of trust. But we've gotten there, I think, with the time we'd spent before that event, but you guys really came through for me and took care of me like my real brothers. I mean, it was beautiful. And so I think that experience bonded us in a way that nothing else could. So I think that really showed up later on.
And I think you sound like inside the message in that concert. And that is a version we are going to make the virtual premiere.
Yes, it was feeling like, yeah, it was pretty risky there for a little while, not feeling like I'd be able to perform. Even though I've performed with the stomach flu before, but performing during COVID. So making sure that I wasn't sick with COVID. So of course I took a COVID test, and we took care of that and kept me away from everyone but you guys. So anyway, it was a very sincere performance.
Thank you very much, the Uinta Trio. I hope the people can enjoy that work. And thank you very much also for the Barlow Endowment that brings this opportunity to make a connection between composers and performers.
Okay, I just wanted to say one thing. I have a piano student who came to the concert, and I gave her a little bit of background, kind of like you did before we played it in Idaho, and just sort of explained a little bit about the structure of the piece and the chiasmus, and she is a member of our faith and so understood about the story. But she took her program, and as we were playing the piece, she just took some notes based on what she was listening to and the nature of the music, the different musical parameters that we experience when we listen to music: harmony, melody, the mood, dynamic, and character. And she wrote down her impressions of how it would relate to the story that's being told. And I was actually very shocked, because it was very apparent to her that your intentions as a composer and the way that we presented the music as a trio lined up with how you associate the chiasmus in your introduction to the work, and how that structure is and what it can possibly mean. I remember when we were working with you and you were explaining the moments, the key moments in the piece, and in what could be transpiring in the narrative and how it related to the music. And I guess maybe what I'm trying to say in a very long-winded way is she really understood the piece. She understood how harmonically and melodically the ideas of pain and torment were reflected in the different harmonies that you chose, the climax of the piece, and then the process of repentance and feeling the sweetness of being free of that weight, and how that's reflected even in simple things like white key, minor keys being a certain tonal area that expresses one idea, but then moving down into a flat key area that's a black key area with lots of flats that it changes the sweetness of the mood and the tone. And then my student could understand it, and they understood those intentions. And so for me, I feel like that's, to me, is a measure of success. If it's what the composer wrote and then it's how we presented it, if someone in the audience could understand it, it means we did a good job in presenting it, and that it was a great work to begin with that had an important message for somebody to understand. So I really enjoyed, when I was first learning my part individually, to kind of experience those different key areas and to associate emotion and emotional content to those areas, and then as a group figure out how to communicate that. And turned out to be a very effective piece, and even a student of music could be in the audience with no score, with no words in front of them, but could make sense of the piece. And to me, that's very successful. So.
Well, thank you, Michael. I was thinking about the Michael comments, because when I compose, many times when I compose, I think more like a teacher. And the first thing I like when I am teaching is that the people don't be bored. So
Correct.
And my first audience are the musicians or the interpreters, because I think if they start to be bored, well, I am lost. So my first attention is in the music. Think as a performer and say, well, what happened if I need to play that? I feel comfortable or not. And I know that if the musicians feel good, the music will be good for the rest of the audience. So I feel very comfortable with your comments, Michael and Monte and Nicole. When now we need to be prepared for the comments in YouTube, and I hope they could be the same, or I will delete the bad comments. Don't worry.
That's
You
good.
know what? I really like seeing the chiasmus. So I don't know if you've, of course, this is my iPad. You can't see it that well, but yeah, seeing that really helps, I think, understand the piece. And then you get to see the scriptures with it too. Cool.
It was a great experience. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And special thanks again to the Barlow Endowment. Thank you so much for supporting new art.
Bueno. Bye bye.